Okay, today we're going to be testing some a new pellet against some pellets that you're probably already familiar with. We're going to use the new Barracuda Hunter Extreme. We're going to be shooting it through an Air Force Condor at mid power. We're going to test it against the Predator Polymag and the Beeman Crow Magnum, two hunting pellets that you're probably already familiar with and are very good pellets. We're also going to use the Exact Kings just to give you an idea of what a regular non-hunting pellet would penetrate. Okay, the test apparatus that we're going to use for this is a 25-pound block of Perma Gel, which if you're not familiar with it, it's like ballistic gelatin, except that it's a better mixture that is stable at room temperature, but is very close to the density of skeletal muscle, so it's a very good ballistic simulant. We're also going to be chronographing the pellets right before they go into the block of gel, and then we're going to measure the distance of penetration in the gel, and after that we're going to melt the block down and we're going to look at the amount of expansion, if anything, on each pellet. So stand by and we'll get started. Okay, the first pellet that we're going to shoot is the Exact, JSP Exact, just for a baseline so you can see penetration and so you can get an idea of the power we're using. We're using about 6 or 7 on the wheel for power. This is the JSP Exact. So as you can see, that was 932 feet per second. And as far as penetration in the gel block, that's about 14.5 inches of penetration in the gel block. Okay, next up we have the Crow Magnum pellet, and we're going to go ahead and shoot that. 937 feet per second. So we have a much shallower penetration of the Crow Magnum. About 5.5 inches with some good looking expansion. We'll check that again after we pull the pellet out. That was 937 feet per second into the block. Okay, next up is the Predator Polymag. Again, what I failed to mention before is this gun is a 25 caliber, so these are fairly heavy pellets. Again, this is the Predator Polymag into the block. 950 feet per second into the block. Okay, again, that was 950 feet per second. Predator Polymag. We have 8 inches of penetration into the block, and we have the front cap disconnect here. The little red front cap disconnect at about 2 inches. So the Polymag went about 3 inches deeper than the Crow Magnum. Okay, I just wanted to let you see a close-up of the Barracuda Hunter Extreme. The two pellets to the left are the Hunter Extreme, and they're compared to, of course, a Predator Polymag on the far right. As you can see, the new pellet has a head that looks kind of like a Phillips screwdriver with a small cavity in the middle, and we're going to see how this performs in comparison to these two other excellent hunting pellets right now. Okay, we're going to try the Hunter Extreme now. Remember, this pellet is 28 grains and change. The other two are 26, so it's a little bit heavier than the other two. Okay, Hunter Extreme now. 849 feet per second for a 28 grain pellet. Let's have a look. Okay, the Hunter Extreme penetrated 9 inches in gelatin, just about a ½ inch further than the Predator Polymag. The interesting thing about it is it has a small cavity at the end of the wound tract, which looks like it may create more damage than the others. We're going to shoot one more into the block just to make sure that this characteristic is consistent. So again, 850 feet per second roughly, and 9 inches of penetration for the first Hunter Extreme. We're going to do it one more time. Okay, last time with the Hunter Extreme. That's a dud. 563 feet per second. I don't think that that is representative. Let's shoot it one more time. May have to charge the gun. Okay, we're going to shoot it again. Hunter Extreme. 916. A little erratic on these velocities, but that was certainly a good one. Okay, the 916 foot per second pellet again penetrated 8 inches into the gelatin block, and there appears to be some additional cavitation at the end of the track. The one that was kind of a misfire at 500 went about 6 inches. So looks like it's a pretty constant performer at 8 inches. Now we'll pull them out and look at the expansion. Okay, we're back, and we've gotten all the pellets out of the block. We had some interesting findings that required shooting some additional pellets offline to kind of get a feel for what velocities makes these pellets perform. The first, we're going to go through each pellet one by one, starting with the JSP King, which is all the way to your right. Okay, if you recall, the JSP King was used just to give you a baseline for how deeply a pellet would penetrate that did not expand at all and had a similar weight to the other pellets in the test. Remember, this one went into the block with 932 feet per second and 49 foot-pounds of energy. This penetrated about 14.5 inches, and as you can see, it is entirely unexpanded and could probably be shot again. The only change to the pellet is rifling marks. I measured the diameter of this pellet to be 6 millimeters, which is essentially 25 caliber. So there is your baseline, 14.5 inches for a non-expanding pellet. Now the next pellet is the Beeman Crow Magnum pellet. Again, to review, this is a 26 grain pellet that we shot at 937 feet per second into the block for 51 pounds of energy. This had the shallowest penetration in the gelatin of any of the pellets, 5.5 inches. And if you look at the perfect mushroom of this pellet, it measured 9.5 millimeters, which is almost 40 caliber. It's a perfect mushroom. this one really is the best performing pellet in gelatin at point blank range. And the range is critical. I think that when we think about using these pellets in the field, you have to consider the range that we shot this into the gelatin block. So we'll talk more about that as we move on down the line. Next up is the Predator Polymag, and if you recall, this is a 26 grain pellet that we shot 950 feet per second into the block for 52 pounds of energy. These both penetrated in the block about 8 inches. The diameter is 7.5 millimeters. As you can see, both of the pellets overexpanded, and some of the mushroom part of the pellet has sheared off, and the pellet has compressed down to a diameter which is suboptimal. You can see the small plastic tip that broke off of one of these. So 50 foot-pounds on this pellet is clearly too much juice for optimal performance of this pellet. We have another example of this shot at a lower velocity that shows much better results. So this is still an excellent pellet, but it's just at this velocity the alloy that they use is soft, and it deforms readily. So you might want to slow it down a little bit if you plan to use these. Alright, now we're going to talk about the Hunter Extreme pellet. You have 3 examples in front of you. The one closest to you is the one that was kind of a misfire that went into the block at 563 feet per second, 20 foot-pounds of energy, and penetrated 6 inches. As you can see, that one could basically be shot again. There's absolutely no expansion. So this pellet, hitting the target at 20 foot-pounds or so, will not perform at all. The next pellet is the one to the right. This one went into the block at 849 foot-pounds, 849 feet per second, 46 foot-pounds, and penetrated 9 inches into the block. As you can see, this one is starting to expand, but still penetrated quite a bit further than our index performer, the Crow Magnum, at 5.5 inches. So I would say that this pellet at 46 foot-pounds is underexpanded at 6.5 millimeters. The last of the original pellets that we fired is the one to your left. This one went into the block at 916 feet per second, 53 foot-pounds of energy, and penetrated 8 inches. This one expanded to a diameter of 7 millimeters, and as you can see is pretty well deforms the head, but is still underexpanding compared to the best pellet in gelatin. Since we were not getting consistent results with the test pellet, I decided to shoot some additional pellets off the air at some different speeds to try to get a feel for where this Hunter Extreme pellet does perform, and how you can optimize the use of this pellet in the field. So I'll be talking about that in just a second. Okay, to determine the optimal speed for the Hunter Extreme pellet, I shot 4 more of them into the block at approximately an average of 950 feet per second for 57 foot-pounds of energy. As you can see, they're beautifully expanded. This is obviously what the pellet is meant to do. These only managed an average of 6 inches penetration into the block, And if you measure the diameter of each one of those, they're close to 9 millimeters in diameter, which is about 0.36 of an inch. So these are stellar performers as long as they hit the target with 57 foot-pounds of energy. I don't know how practical that is in most guns. Even if you launched it at a much faster velocity, it's very likely that your target would slow down to the target before it would get below 950 feet per second before it got to the target, and you would actually have underperforming pellet. Now, just for fun, I took a Hunter Extreme on your left and fired it into the block at 1150 feet per second, which was maximum power on the Condor, 83 foot-pounds. It penetrated 9 inches, and you can see that the mushroom tore off the top of the pellet and moved down toward the bottom of the skirt for overexpansion, just to see how the pellet fared at very high velocities. Next to it is a Beeman Crow Magnum pellet that went into the block at 1200 feet per second for 84 foot-pounds of energy. It penetrated 9 inches and expanded to 8 millimeters in diameter. These are obviously velocities beyond which these pellets would be accurate. I just did that to determine what the overexpansion would look like on both of these pellets. Finally, I told you I'd come back to the Polymag and tell you the optimal velocity for this pellet. This is a Predator Polymag shot into the block at 750 feet per second, which is the absolute lowest power on the Condor. This is 33 foot-pounds of energy. This pellet penetrated 6 inches, which is very good performance. And I measured the diameter of the mushroom, which, as you can see, is intact at 9 millimeters. So kind of in summary, I've been thinking about the performance of these pellets over a day or so, and I think the Hunter Extreme is too hard an alloy, or the design is such that to get the pellet to perform, it's just not practical in most guns. Most guns are not going to be able to drive a 28 grain pellet to well up above 950 feet per second to hit game downfield with that kind of force to make the pellet perform. However, the Polymag and the Crow Magnum expand at much lower velocities, so I believe it's possible to shoot these pellets at velocities that are accurate in most guns and attainable by most guns, and have them carry enough velocity and energy downfield to perform. So in summary, I still think the Polymag and the Crow Magnum are better pellets for hunting than the new Hunter Extremes. For the lower powered guns, I would definitely give the nod to the Polymag, because it seems to expand at the lowest velocities of any.